much gratitude to Hashem that I stand before you at our son Daniel Mordechai's bris. First, I'd like to thank Hashem, but I would also like to thank my wonderful wife Sarah. She really, she got through a difficult 9 months, and she made it. So, if anybody knows what she went through during the pregnancy, you would see that she was really, really tough, and she got through it. So I thank her very much for that. I'd like to also thank my parents for coming from Silver Spring. At this point, they're in between houses, in between places, but they've always been there for me, and we've also done a lot of traveling ourselves and moving between places, and they've always been on my team, and thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
No matter what, and I really, really appreciate them being here. I'd also like to thank Noe for coming all the way from LA. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. We know it's not easy to make it. And Sarah's parents, Dr. David and Suzanne Jacobson, they were very, very helpful to us in every way. They allowed us to stay in their house for about 7 months, and it was great. It worked out very, very well. I'm not even joking. It was a good experience. But they continue to assist us and help us in any way possible. They have gladly taken Yonah every Shabbos morning, Bubby has, and watch him early in the morning, whenever possible. And we've had takeout from their house, takeout from their kitchen, many nights a week, and we really appreciate all their help, and so thank you very, very much. And finally, I'd like to give thanks to the Houston community, because you guys have really accepted us back into the community. Sarah's from here, but she was gone for a number of years and came back and went to Silver Spring, and we really appreciate all of you guys really making us feel at home. I remember on Friday before the Shalom Zachar, there was just never a time when somebody wasn't knocking on the door bringing us something for the Shalom Zachar, and we really, really appreciate that. So we chose, it's all right, it's all good. We chose Daniel as our son's first name and Mordechai as his middle name, and while it may seem that the two names don't necessarily link together, we believe that they have a very strong connection. Both are important figures in our history who, despite being threatened with mortal danger, stayed true to their faith. There's a famous story in the book of Daniel which involves his adversaries that were jealous of him, because he had a very, very high position in the king's court. So they tricked the king, even though the king liked him very much. They tricked him into signing an edict which required everyone to pray to him rather than Hashem or any other god for a period of 30 days. So of course they said if you didn't do what the edict said, you'd be thrown to the lions. And of course Daniel kept davening to Hashem, and he was eventually thrown to the lions, and he was saved. The lions they laid down in front of him because of his faith and his steadfastness to Judaism. So that's a very important story. Similarly, in the story of Purim, just a couple of weeks ago, we read about how Mordechai, he refused to bow down to Haman, and because of that, right? He was able to pass an evil edict of his own against the Jewish people. So, of course, we all know that through the story of Esther and Mordechai, they were able to reestablish their faith of the Jewish people to Hashem and re-accept the Torah. So that was how they were saved. So as you can see, both the Torah figures of Daniel and Mordechai exemplify this ability to stand against a crowd, right? And do what's right despite tremendous pressure to do otherwise, including their own personal danger. In this way, we hope that our new baby, Daniel Mordechai, will grow up to be a person who has this kind of strength to choose right over wrong, even when it's unpopular to do, it's not popular to do that, even if this means some kind of personal sacrifice, hopefully not as bad as those two figures. But we chose our son's middle name of Mordechai in honor of Sarah's paternal grandfather, Poppy, and a long line of Poppies, Mordechai Merle Jacobson. I only met Poppy Jacobson a few times at both our wedding and Noe's, but I've heard a lot about him from both Sarah and my father-in-law. As I tell you about who he was, you can see that a lot of his traits match up with what we were talking about with Daniel and Mordechai. I've been told by Sarah and anyone who knew Poppy that he was very patient and easy to be around. Over the years, it became increasingly difficult for him to find the words to speak in order to communicate due to a stroke. And getting a sentence out, or even a few words, became very difficult and slow. Of course, this was frustrating for everyone. It took a lot of patience on the listening end, waiting for him to find the words. But what about him? How frustrating, or even maddening at times, it must have been for him to be able to find words he was looking for, right, to speak on a regular basis, and to engage in a real substantial dialogue with people around him. However, Poppy, being the very common patient that he was, handled this challenge so gracefully. He wasn't only patient with others, but he was also patient with himself. He would struggle for a few moments to find the right words, but listen to his dear wife, who would always tell him, "You'll think of it later, and then you'll tell me." Sometimes Poppy looked confused or frustrated, but he never expressed anger or resentment, never cursed, and moved on without any complaints. He never seemed angry or resentful, he just accepted. His nature was to be kind, sweet, soft-spoken, and he would laugh a lot. That big laugh and frequent chuckle was distinctly his, and everyone who knew Poppy remembers this about him. Another trait of Poppy was his drive for meaning in life, search for spirituality, interest and eagerness to share the Orthodox Jewish rituals that Sarah engaged in when she would stay at their condo in Miami for visits. She would usually stay with them over Shabbos on these visits. She told me how after she lit the Shabbos candles, Poppy would get up from his seat, walk all the way down the hall, and go to his dresser drawer to find his kippah to put on. Of course, this was not easy. This was not an easy thing for him to do. And she would help him